Okay, let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. You know how it works. You provide the source material, we unpack it for the key takeaways.
Exactly. And today we're tackling something probably very familiar to anyone who's ever had a puppy. Those behaviors that are totally normal for them, but, well, kind of challenging for us humans.
Right. The chewing, the nipping, the accidents, all that stuff. This deep dive is basically your shortcut through those first few chaotic months. We're drawing from a really solid veterinary source on pediatric dog behavior.
Yep. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. Pull out the core insights from this material. We want you to understand why your puppy is doing what they're doing, and, crucially, what this source recommends as, practical, effective ways to manage and train. Positively, of course.
Definitely. We're hitting the big ones today. That notorious play biting.
The land shark phase.
Totally. Also getting up on furniture, counters, the drill. And the real foundations, like getting them comfortable with a crate or confinement, and of course, house training.
We'll look at the why behind them and really focus on the management and training strategies this guide lays out. Positive methods are key here.
So yeah, this is about getting you that essential info quickly and clearly. If you're currently wrestling a tiny terror or just thinking about the house training journey ahead, this one's for you.
And I think one of the most important starting points from this vet guide is how it frames these things. It says they aren't really problems like something's wrong with a puppy.
Right.
They're described as normal and common, but not acceptable to the human family. So our job isn't fixing a broken puppy. It's teaching and shaping behavior, modification.
That changes the whole perspective, doesn't it? They're just being puppies, and we need to teach them the house rules, basically.
Exactly. And the source does mention, things like breed tendencies, genetics. They play a part in energy levels, drive, especially with working breeds. And these behaviors, super common. They usually peak between, 3 and 9 months old?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And things like maybe living in a city apartment or anywhere it's harder to get tons of exercise, that can definitely make managing these things tougher.
So the root causes often boil down to, like, normal puppy stuff, playing, exploring, but maybe combined with not enough supervision or not managing their space well.
Or just not giving them enough good things to do, enough appropriate outlets for all that puppy energy.
And, sometimes we make it worse. The source points out that our reactions can actually reinforce the behavior.
Mm-hmm. Or exacerbate it, yeah. It's kind of humbling, right, to think we might be accidentally making things harder.
It really is. It's definitely an interaction. Okay, ready to get into the specifics, what the guide says about each behavior.
Let's do it.
All right, first up, the classic, play biting, those needle teeth, grabbing hands, close.
The land shark, yes. The guide describes it well. Mouthing, biting hands, ankles, clothing. Usually it's what we call inhibited biting. They aren't trying to really hurt you.
But it still hurts.
Oh, absolutely. Those teeth are sharp, and the sounds they make are usually higher pitched, more playful, not like, a serious fear or aggressive growl. Often happens during play or when they see movement.
So it really is just rough puppy play most of the time.
Mostly, yes. The source calls play biting normal behavior. And this is a big, but it also warns that if we engage in rough play using our hands or tease them or actually encourage that biting on hands and feet, well, that's going to make it stick around or get worse.
We're basically teaching them the wrong game.
Exactly, reinforcing the wrong thing. The guide also reminds us in the diagnostic part to always watch the puppy's body language carefully, just to make sure it's not spilling over into something else, like fear-based biting, which looks totally different.
Okay, so it's normal, but we don't want it. What does this veterinary guide say we should do about it?
It's a combined approach. First things first, meet their needs, plenty of exercise, the right kind of exercise, appropriate play, which means not using your hands as toys,
right?
Lots of mental stimulation too, and have a good variety of toys available, especially chew toys, maybe food stuffable toys.
The guide is pretty clear. Have toys around all the time. That sounds simple, but it's actually a really powerful tip, isn't it? Always have something else they can chew on ready.
It really is. And another practical tip for management, keep a light leash on them indoors when they're out with you. Whoa. It just gives you instant, gentle control to redirect them if needed.
Okay.
And if the biting gets really frantic, like they're just completely overstimulated, the guide suggests a brief timeout, a short period of confinement in their crate or pen just to help them calm down.
The puppy timeout. Got it.
Yep. And this is a huge takeaway from the source. Absolutely. Avoid games that encourage biting hands or feet. Play with toys, not fingers.
Makes sense.
They also strongly recommend using positive reinforcement to teach basic commands like sit, using food lures. And then, get this, ask for that sit before the puppy gets anything they want. Toys, food, petting, greeting people.
Ugh, the sit to say please idea. A really good foundation for impulse control. Okay, now, the big question. What's the specific technique for when they actually bite you during play?
Right. This is the key method highlighted in this source, and it's widely recommended. A sharp, high-pitched ouch the second the teeth make contact.
Loud and sudden.
Yep. And immediately follow it by withdrawing all attention. Stand up, walk away. Just for like 10, 20 seconds. The idea is the ouch startles them, marks the bite as too hard, and crucially, your leaving instantly stops the fun.
So the consequences, biting makes the good stuff go away.
Exactly, and the guide is very firm on this. Physical correction should be avoided. No hitting, no scolding. That can create fear, maybe even aggression, and might make them bite harder defensively next time.
So the nugget is, biting stops the fun. Instantly, consistently. Then maybe redirect to a toy or let them calm down.
You got it. Consistency is everything with that method. The source also gives a big thumbs up to early puppy classes, starting around 8-10 weeks old. Not just for socialization, but for that supervised playtime with other puppies, where they really learn bite inhibition from each other.
Good point. Okay, let's shift gears from biting hands to tiny mountain climbers.
Yeah.
Puppies getting on the sofa, jumping on counters.
Right. That one often comes from a few places. It could be pure exploration. What's up there looks interesting.
Or food.
Definitely food scraps. Or maybe keys, remote controls, other tempting things. Or sometimes they just want to be closer to you, if you're on the couch. Social connection.
Yeah, it often feels like they just want to be part of the action.
The source acknowledges that desire for social closeness is a big motivator.
Yeah.
So the approach here is mostly about management and providing better options down low. Step 1, prevention.
Keep stuff off the counters and furniture.
If possible, yes, manage the environment. And then supervision is key when they're loose. If you cannot actively watch them, they need to be in their safe confinement area, like their crate or pen.
So block access if you can't supervise. Baby gates, closed doors.
Exactly, or even just arranging furniture strategically.
Right.
And importantly, make the floor more rewarding.
Yeah.
Are there enough cool toys down there? Good things to chew on? Is there a comfy bed that's actually appealing to them? Make the floor where the good stuff happens.
Meet their needs on the floor so they don't feel the need to go exploring up high.
Precisely. Meet those needs for chewing, stimulation, and rest on their level.
Does the guide mention deterrents for those persistent jumpers?
It does. If they keep trying, you can make those surfaces less attractive. Things like bitter tasting sprays on furniture legs, or maybe those motion-activated air sprayers placed near the edge of a counter. They create a mild aversion without you having to yell or be the bad guy.
Interesting. Okay, let's tackle the really big foundational ones. Confinement training, often crate training, and house training. These can feel like huge hurdles.
They can be, absolutely. But getting them right, it pays off so much in the long run. Confinement training is all about teaching the puppy to see a specific space crate, pen as their safe, positive den.
And the goals are pretty significant, right? Preventing accidents, stopping destructive chewing when you can't watch them.
Yep, providing a safe spot for them to rest and chill out, getting them used to being confined for things like vet visits or travel later on, and just helping them learn to settle themselves down.
The source mentions choosing the right size and type is important. A crate is good for shorter times, limited by how long they can hold it.
That's right. You start with really short periods, maybe just minutes, and gradually increase it. The aim is maybe getting up to 4 to 5 hours by the time they're a few months old, but you have to build up slowly. If they need to be confined for longer than that regularly, like during a full workday, the guide suggests a larger puppy pen is better. Ideally, one set up with a designated potty spot inside it.
Okay, so how does the guide say we make it a good place, not a punishment?
Introduce it early. Make it awesome. Toss high-value treats in there, put their favorite toys inside, maybe even feed their meals in the crate or pen. You want them wanting to go in.
Lure them in with good stuff.
Exactly. And here's a key tip from the source. Try putting the puppy in their confinement spot when they're already a bit tired or sleepy. They're much more likely to just settle down. And this is like a golden rule. To maintain a positive association, the pup should never be scolded or roughly forced in.
No, shoving them in when they've been naughty.
Definitely not. What about the crying or whining, though? That's the really tough part for people. It is tough. The guide acknowledges some fussing is normal at first, They suggest things like white noise, playing a radio softly, or maybe a calming classical music CD nearby can help mask outside sounds and be soothing.
Little tricks to help them settle.
Yeah, and maybe using one of those dog-appeasing pheromone diffusers or sprays near the crate could help lower anxiety too. But here's the really critical nugget about the crying. Avoid releasing the pup when he cries or whines.
Oh, that's the hard one.
It is. You absolutely have to wait for even a brief moment of quiet. Or sometimes you can distract them from outside the room to get them quiet for a second before you open the door. If you let them out while they're crying, you just taught them that crying is the button to push to get released.
Wow, that takes some serious willpower from the owner.
It really, really does. But consistency is the name of the game. Okay, ready for house training?
Let's do it. The source seems to have a very clear protocol.
It does. And frequency seems to be like the absolute core of it.
Take them out constantly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The recommendation is at least every hour when they're awake during the day. And immediately after waking up from naps, after playing, after eating or drinking, and right after any time spent in their crate or pen.
That's a lot of trips outside.
It is. And you also need to be watching them like a hawk for any pre-potty signals, circling, sniffing the ground intently, starting to squat, maybe heading for the door. If you take them out and they don't go within, say, 5 minutes.
Bring them back in.
Yep. Bring them back inside, but keep them under super close supervision, maybe on leash right beside you for 15, maybe 30 minutes. And then try taking them outside again.
The whole point being, they literally don't get the unsupervised chance to make a mistake indoors.
That's exactly it, which leads to probably the single most important rule from this source for house training success. Until that puppy has gone 4 consecutive weeks without any accidents inside.
4 weeks straight?
4 consecutive weeks, yeah. Until then, they must either be directly in your line of sight or safely confined in their crate or pen. Keeping them tethered to you with a leash while they're out of the crate is a super simple way to guarantee that supervision.
Wow, 4 consecutive weeks really drives home the commitment needed for that strict management phase.
It really emphasizes this isn't usually a quick fix. You're building a really strong habit. The source also suggests feeding scheduled meals, like 2-3 times a day for about 20 minutes each time, helps create a more predictable potty schedule too.
Makes sense. Predictable input, predictable output.
Kind of, yeah. Generally, they say puppies can start holding it overnight, around 3-4 months old, and maybe manage 2-3 hours or more during the day by 4 months, if that consistent routine is in place.
What about when you do catch them starting to have an accident inside? What's the advice then?
Just calmly interrupt. The source says, if you see it happening, make a gentle sound, nothing scary, just enough to interrupt them, then immediately scoop them up and rush them outside to their designated potty spot.
No yelling, no nose rubbing.
Absolutely not. The guide explicitly says any kind of punishment, yelling or rubbing their nose in it, is strongly discouraged. It doesn't teach them anything useful, it can create fear, and if you just find a puddle later...
Too late.
Too late. The guide's nugget here is pretty blunt. The owner was not sufficiently supervising. The only thing to do then is clean it up extremely well with an enzymatic cleaner, something that actually breaks down the odor molecules, otherwise they'll just be attracted back to that same spot.
Okay. What if the puppy is having accidents in the crate? Even if you feel like you're following the rules. The source lists some reasons for that, right?
Yes, that's a really common frustration. The guide points to a few likely culprits. Maybe they were left in there too long for their age.
Exceeded their bladder capacity.
Right, or the crate might be too big, large enough that they can potty in one end and still sleep comfortably in the other.
Ah, okay.
Or maybe they weren't taken out for a successful potty trip right before going into the crate. Inconsistent feeding times could play a role. Separation anxiety could be a factor. Or, and this is a really important one, there could be an underlying medical issue.
So if you're really trying hard with the crate timing and size and they're still messing in there, it might be time for a vet check.
Absolutely. The source definitely emphasizes ruling out medical conditions. Anything affecting urine or stool production, frequency, or their ability to control themselves physically, or even learn the routine properly.
That's a crucial point. What about folks who just can't get home hourly, like apartment dwellers or people with long work days? Does the source offer alternatives?
It does mention indoor training options. The core principles are the same. Strict supervision when you are home, confinement when you can't watch them. But for those longer absences, the confinement area would need to be larger, like an exercise pen, set up with a designated indoor potty spot using potty pads or papers.
And then you gradually move that spot.
Yeah, the idea is you'd slowly transition that indoor potty spot closer and closer to the door and eventually move it outside when they have better control and you have more time for supervision.
Got it. The guide also wraps up with some general advice, kind of tying all these behaviors together.
Yeah, the core philosophy running through everything is positive reinforcement. Actively look for opportunities to praise and reward the behaviors you do want.
Like when they are chewing their own toy.
Exactly. Or when they're resting quietly in their crate. Or especially when they potty in the right spot outside. Big praise, maybe a treat. And it circles back to reinforce that point about avoiding harsh physical or verbal punishment.
Because it just doesn't work for these normal puppy things.
Not only is it ineffective, the source warns it can seriously damage your bond with the puppy and potentially lead to much bigger problems down the road, like fearfulness or aggression. Teaching a solid sit and using it consistently, sit to say please, is presented as just a fundamental tool for managing impulses across the board.
So the big picture takeaway really seems to be, meet the puppy's needs first, use positive reinforcement to teach them what you want them to do, manage their environment smartly to prevent mistakes, and steer clear of punishment.
That sums it up perfectly. The source also mentions that medication generally isn't needed for these typical developmental behaviors, though occasionally things like those calming pheromones might be helpful, especially if there's some anxiety around confinement.
And the good news is the prognosis is generally pretty positive for sorting these common issues out right, assuming people follow the advice.
Yes, the guide sounds quite optimistic. It states that the intensity of these behaviors naturally tends to decrease as the puppy matures, provided it's combined with consistent management and training from the owner.
So consistency is key.
Absolutely. Play biting can often be managed relatively quickly if you're consistent with the ouch and leave method. Getting them comfortable with confinement might take days or a few weeks. House training, that usually takes several weeks, and the source is clear that any inconsistency from the owner or just life challenges making the schedule hard can definitely drag out the process.
But the alternative, if these things aren't addressed properly, the potential complications listed in the source sound pretty serious. Property damage, bites causing injury, just sheer owner frustration.
Damage to the relationship with the dog, and sadly, sometimes it even leads to people giving up the dog, relinquishment.
Which is exactly why understanding and using these positive strategies from the guide is so incredibly important. It's about setting everyone up for success, puppy and human, and building that great relationship.
Well said.
Okay, so we've really unpacked the core insights from this veterinary source. We've covered why puppies do these common, sometimes frustrating things, and looked at the specific positive strategies the guide recommends for managing and training.
I think the biggest takeaway really is that so much of what seems like bad behavior in a young puppy isn't them being bad. It's just normal puppy development. And the source makes it clear that success comes from understanding that, being proactive with management, and using consistent positive training.
Meeting those core needs is foundational exercise, mental outlets, rest, a predictable routine.
Absolutely. That's the bedrock.
And then actively using those specific techniques we talked about, the ouch and leave for nipping, the super strict supervision or confinement for house training until they've got it down, making the crate a great place. And that word consistency just keeps coming up. It's the magic ingredient, truly. Applying these techniques consistently is what makes the difference and helps avoid those really negative outcomes. The damage, the injuries, the frustration, and potentially losing that bond, or even the dog itself.
Right. So building on all that insight from the source, maybe here's something to think about. If so many of these behaviors, the biting, the exploring high places, the needing to potty frequently, are just natural, hardwired parts of being a puppy and how they develop, what does that really tell us about our job? What's our fundamental responsibility in guiding this little creature whose basic instincts are often so different from what our human homes require? How do we patiently, skillfully help them become a happy, well-adjusted member of our family? Maybe reflect on that gap between what comes naturally to a puppy and what our world asks of them, and how our approach, whether it's built on understanding and positive guidance, or maybe impatience and frustration, doesn't just shape their behavior, but it really shapes the entire future of our relationship with them.